Hey there, time for lesson 310, dividing fractions. So here we go. Now, as I mentioned in class, please don't put a lot of stress on yourself. This is just meant to introduce you to this so you have some awareness of how this works. If you find it confusing, try not to fret or stress too much because that's definitely not what I'm looking for. So here's your I can statement. I can divide whole numbers by unit fractions and unit fractions by whole numbers. And you'll see how those are a little bit different as we go through this video together. So just to kind of get our heads around those fractional shares again, we're going to take a little look at this. So let's start here. It says there are 4 people in the Walton family, but there are only 3 waffles. How can the Waltons share those waffles equally? Well, we can divide each waffle into 4 pieces, so you can kind of see that here. Okay. Each person's share of 1 waffle is 1/4. So for each waffle they get 1/4. Since there are 3 waffles in total, and that's these guys up here, okay? Each person gets 3 of the fourths, or 3/4 of a whole waffle. Okay, so we take it apart, we split them up. That means that each person can have not a whole waffle, but 3/4 of one whole waffle. And that looks like this. 3 divided by 4 equals, it's weird, right? 3 times 1/4, okay? Which equals 3/4. And it'll make more sense as we go through this. So if that first part's a little confusing, just give it some time. Let it kind of seep in there, all right? So let's look at number 1 here. It says, suppose there are 5 people and 4 waffles. What is each person's share of 1 waffle? Well, we got 4 waffles divided up amongst 5 people. So if we've got 1 waffle divided up amongst 5 people, I'm going to have 1/5 of a waffle, okay? Now, what about 4 waffles? Well, I've got 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5, or 4 times 1/5, which would give me 4/5 of a waffle. All right. So when we do 4 divided by 5, what we're really doing here, and again, you'll see some better examples as we go on, is we're taking 4 times 1/5, which gives us a total of 4/5. Now, suppose there are 10 people and 7 waffles. Woo! It's a lot of waffles, a lot of people. Okay, so what is each person's share of 1 waffle? Well, 10 people. If I cut 1 waffle up for 10 people, we're each going to get 1/10. Okay, but if we have 7 waffles, we're going to get 7 times this much. So that's going to be 7/10 of a waffle. So when we look at this equation here, 7 divided by 10 is the same as saying 7 times 1/10, which is going to give us a total of 7/10. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this one here. What if we say 5 divided by 6? What would that be the same as saying in multiplication terms? Well, think back to what we just did. Okay? That's going to be the same as saying 5 times 1/6, or 5/6. Now here, think about this. If you're going, how do you do that? Well, let's take a look at this line right here. What does this line mean? It means division. 5 divided by 6. That's where we started right here. So, pause for a minute and see if you can think about what's going to go in those blanks below, and then I'll go through it with you. Okay, here's the solution. 4 divided by 9 is the same as 4 times 1/9, or 4/9. And again, you can see this sign here means division. 4 divided by 9. Same thing we've got going on right here. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this one. It says, how can you divide 7 waffles equally among 8 people? Well, that's a good question. Okay? So we're going to take 7 and we're going to divide it amongst 8 people, which is really the same as saying 7 times 1/8. When I do that, I end up with 7/8 of a waffle per person. Not a whole waffle because we got more people than waffles, but I get a fractional share of the waffles that I have. How about 39 waffles amongst 5 serving plates? Give me one of those plates. I like that. That's a lot of waffles. Okay? Well, I'm doing 39 divided by 5 in this case. Okay? So that's 39 times 1/5. which is going to give us 39/5. When I get that, I get 7 4/5. And that's waffles per serving plate. So I'm going to take the plate that's got 7 4/5 waffles, and you each can have one too. All right? So here's another way to think about this. Okay? When we talk about fractional shares, we're going to keep kind of rolling forward with this, and just, again, give yourself some time. If 4 friends share 20 waffles, how many waffles does each person get? Okay, well, that seems pretty straightforward, right? 20 divided by 4. Well, each person would get 5 waffles. If we look at that, we can flip that as a multiplication problem. 1/4 times 20 means the exact same thing as 1/4 of. We talked about of means multiplication. 1/4 of 20. Well, if I take 20 and divide it into 4 equal parts, how much do I have? Well, I have 5 in each of those parts. Okay, so you can see how I can flip those two around and they still give me the same answer. So let's talk about multiplication and division. All right. 4 times 3/4 equals 3. Okay, so I'm taking 4 here, dividing it into 4 equal parts. That means I have 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. I get 3 of those parts. Since I've got 1 in each of those, I get a total of 3. That's the same as saying 3 divided by 4 equals 3/4. Think about it like this. I've got a factor, and a product. Because these are fact families, I can flip them. Okay? In this case, I'll start with the product, and I've got my 2 factors that follow on after that. Now, just remember here that 3 divided by 4 equals question mark. In this case, we know it equals 3/4 because we did that up there, is equivalent to 4 times whatever this number is equals 3, and that would also be 3/4. We know that from looking at the problem up there. They mean the same thing, as you can just flip them around. Okay, so let's look at this as an example. I have 6 yards of ribbon. I want to make ornaments that use 2 yards each. How many ornaments can I make if I've got 6 yards of ribbon? Okay, well, 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So I can cut this ribbon up into 3 equal parts, so I end up with a total of 3 ornaments. Now think about it this way, okay? I have 6 yards of ribbon, except I want to make ornaments that use half a yard each. How many ornaments can I make? Okay, well, 6 divided by 1/2 equals 12, because I'm taking 6 equal parts and I'm splitting each of them in half. We talked about this a little bit in class today too. 6 equal parts divided in half is going to double the number that I had, okay, which is going to give me 12, and that's going to look like this. Okay, so I've got 12 equal parts in that ribbon now. Okay, so 12 times 1/2 equals 6, or 6 divided by 1/2 equals 12. That falls into that factor, product, or product, factor, just like we see up here. Okay, all right. So how many eighths are there in 3? And when we say 3, we're talking about the whole number 3. How many eighths can I get out of that? Well, I've got 3 pizzas here. Each one's cut up into eighths. So how many slices do I have there in those pizzas? Well, if I take a look at this, I've got 24 slices. So 24 times 1/8 equals 3. Think about this as a division problem. 1/8 of 24. Divide 24 by 8, what do you get? You get 3. Okay? So 3 divided by 1/8, 3 pizzas divided by eighths, each one in 8 equal parts, gives me a total of these 24 parts. Okay? Factor, product, factor. Okay? Now, when you divide by a fraction, remember this. Divided fractions is as easy as pie. Flip the second fraction, then multiply. And don't forget to simplify before it's time to say goodbye. So what does that mean? Let's use those same numbers we have up there. There's a lot of stuff in there. So we're going to flip the second fraction upside down, and then we can multiply instead of divide. Okay, pretty wild. It's reciprocal. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay, so here I've got 3 divided by 1/8 is the same as saying 3 times, I flipped that second fraction upside down. See how it said 1/8? Now it says 8 over 1. Now, I'm going to do something with that whole number so you can see right here, when I flip this one upside down over here, I have to remember that I can put any whole number over 1. Doesn't change its value. So now I've got 2 fractions. 3 times 8 is 24. 1 times 1 is 1. And when I divide 24 by 1, I get 24. Here's another way to remember. Leave me, change me, turn me over. Not me personally, okay? I don't need you to change me, that's for sure. So, moving on. All right, so let's say we look at our fraction picture here. We got 1/2 divided by 1/6. We leave the 1/2. we change division to multiplication, and to complete that we need to turn that second fraction over, make it reciprocal. We're going to make it 6 over 1. When we do that, we would end up with 6 over 2. If we multiplied that across, it should give us 3. Now I'm going to show you some examples of what that looks like with a couple different numbers over here. Okay, so if I've got 4 divided by 1/4, that's the same as saying 4 divided by 1 times 4 divided by 1. Remember, I took this whole number 4, put it over 1. I took this 1/4 and I turned it upside down, and that gave me 4 over 1. If I multiply this out, that gives me 16 over 1, or a total of 16. Okay, now 1/4 divided by 4 is a little bit different in the terms of what the answer is going to be. Okay, you're not going to get the same answer here, and I'll show you why. You've got 1/4 divided by 4 over 1. Remember, I've got that whole number over 1. Doesn't change its value. But now I got to flip it. I have to flip it upside down in order for me to multiply straight across. So when I do that, I get 1/4 times 1/4 for a total of, that is so wrong, that should be 1/16. Let's just pretend that that's the right answer here. Yeah. Let's see here. Come on, pen, work. No. Bad pizza. Let's cross that out. That's supposed to say 16. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. It's getting a little late, and I needed to get this done for you, so I missed that one as I was going through it. So 1/16. Okay? So in this case, if I start with the whole number, I end up with 4 divided by 1/4, I get 16. But if I start with the fraction, I get a fractional amount down here, 1/16. Okay? All right. So we're looking at these ones down here. We've got 3 divided by 10. That is the same, if you think back to the previous page, is 3 times 1/10, which equals 3/10. Let's look at the second one here. I've got 4 divided by 1/3. I'm going to flip that fraction upside down. It's going to give me 3 divided by 1, or the whole number 3. Okay, oops, I'm sorry, I showed this over here. 4 times 3 equals 12. And I'll show you what I was talking about there. That's the same as taking 4 divided by 1/3, putting the whole number over 1, 4 over 1 times 3 over 1. Gives me 12 over 1. When I divide 12 over 1 by 12, when I divide 12 by 1, that gives me 12. Okay? Next problem here. 1/2 divided by 5 is the same as saying 1/2 times 1/5, which equals 1/10. Again, I'll show you it over here, moving that fraction through there. Okay? 1/2 divided by 5 is the same as 1/2 divided by 5 over 1. Flipping that section fraction over, that gives me 1/4 times 1/5, which equals, oh my goodness, what is wrong with me today? Sorry about that, kiddos. That is supposed to be a 2. So we're going to cross that out. Bad stuff here. 1/20. Woo! I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. So 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 5 is 20th. That would be 1/20. What did I do wrong? Oh my goodness. Look at me. Ignore. That's supposed to equal this over here. I'm looking at it going, what's going on? This is supposed to be 1/2 here. So it's supposed to be 1/2 times 1/5. Okay? And that does actually equal 1/10. I apologize, but I'm so far into this video, there's no way I'm going back and re-recording it. So, here we go. So that's 1/10. Tough day at the office, ladies and gentlemen. Tough day. All right, we're moving out. Okay, so I want you to think about all this good stuff we just did here. Okay, remember, you can always go backwards and check it out again. Okay, but here are your practice problems for today. These 3 problems here, I need you to complete these in your math notebook. Okay, and then if you get stuck, these 3 problems are set up just like the ones on the previous slide, so you can copy these down, back up a slide, and then make sure you put in the right numbers, unlike me, and I will see you soon.